Welcome to Pimpy's Investment Chat, where we keep investment talk simple. And here's your host, Pimpy.
What is going on out there, peeps? Okay, look, the push for de-dollarization is increasing more and more. The more I pay attention to what's going on geopolitically and locally here in our country, I can't help but feel that everything that is going on is absolutely positively planned. And the people behind this absolutely, positively want to destroy America as we know it. You can claim it's a conspiracy all you want. I tell you guys, when they talk about the jobs numbers or the economy or the stock exchange, I always claim what? That they're full of crap, that the data is false, and that they're purposely misleading us. But, don't take my word for it. We'll hear from experts about that. So let's get into this video, and once again, let me show you what is going on worldwide, and it's tied in all together, and why it is you should be happy about being into precious metals. Before we get started, do me a favor, hit the thumbs up button. If you're not a subscriber, please do so, because when you do, it helps out the channel, and I certainly do appreciate it. If you're thinking about buying gold and silver, head on over to our friends at Miles Franklin. The link will be down below in the description. When you make your purchase, make sure you use promo code Pimpy, P-I-M-P-Y, and they'll take care of you. If you have any additional questions, you can reach us over here at this phone number or over here at this particular email. For all orders over $10,000, reach out by email and we'll make sure that you get a great deal. So come on over to Miles Franklin and add to your precious metal inventory. Okay, first things first, let's take a look at cryptos real quick. Take a look at Bitcoin. It is up $1,072 on the day. That's only 2.48%. They're at $44,266. Ethereum is at $2,427. Solana is finally above $100 at $100.84. XRP, they're still pretty much the same. They're at 51 cents. Cardano's at 50 cents. Dogecoin's at 8 cents. Chainlink's at $18.82. Polkadot at $6.90. Shiba's at 509. Litecoin's at $68.58. Terra Luna's at 30109. And what the heck is going on with Satama? They are at 3089. Actually, they're up from the last time I reported them, but you can see for the day, they are down 0.29%. Gold earlier today was at $2,050. You can see it came back down just a little bit. It's at $2,033 per ounce. Silver is at $22.16 per ounce. So we're going to have a chance to listen to Andy Shipman talk about what's going on with the BRICS nations, the de-dollarization move. But let's listen to Andy, explain to people why it is you should be moving into gold and silver.
I think when we realize that there are 200 meetings between today and in October meeting in Russia, 200 BRICS meetings, separate BRICS meetings, that's like every other day. And then the big one in October and an election in November. Do we really think that this is going to be smooth sailing? And what's really eerie to me is the quietness in this retail market.
There are a lot of countries teeter on whether or not they should join BRICS. But before they make their decision, they're waiting to see what happens in this election. They can't stand another 4 years of Joe Biden. There's no way in how they can. It's a complete catastrophe here. They're waiting to see if anything changes or if Trump gets back in office. There's no doubt about this.
And when you look at what's happening on the wholesale level, when you look at what's happening in Shanghai on the LBMA and COMEX, the ETFs, all bleeding off product.
So what we see happening is the physical gold and silver is being bought, and that is driving the prices higher. But what they're using is the ETFs, the paper gold and silver, to drive the prices back down. So they're trying to balance it and keep everything under the radar. So if you see these institutions buying the physical gold and silver, and often they're paper gold and silver, that should tell you exactly where you need to be in physical gold and silver.
And the de-dollarization that we continue to see, to me, is very alarming. We talked about how the United Arab Emirates made the provocative move of saying they're not going to trade in dollars. When that materializes, I'm not quite sure. And we talked about how they are the 7th largest producer of oil in the world, and they are an OPEC member that was just admitted to BRICS here January 1st. They just yesterday, the day before, completed the first ever digital transaction made directly to China through the mBridge platform. We've talked about the mBridge platform for over a year. And that mBridge platform, think of it as a bridge that allows central bank digital currencies to trade with one another outside of the SWIFT system.
Now keep in mind, there are a lot of countries over there in the Middle East that are all lining up to possibly be members of the BRICS nations. But again, they are waiting to see the results of this up-and-coming election.
This is the first ever transaction made directly to China from the United Arab Emirates, who just said they're not going to take dollars anymore, who was just visited by Putin right after they made that announcement, who hasn't left the country but twice in 2 years because of the sanctions. You can see things in every corner, if you look closely enough, are accelerating. But when you talk about metals traded on the LME, this has been a very strategic aim of Hong Kong and of China to control all of the world's commodities. I believe that this is something they have done methodically, and they are working on them. All of the relationships they're working on, like with the United Arab Emirates, center around trading in local currencies, ultimately maybe in a BRICS currency, but has to do with commodities.
So not only are they striking up deals with some of the biggest oil producers in the world, but also when it comes to gold and silver. Instead of buying them off the open market, they're going directly to the mining companies and buying into exclusive contracts with them. Very dangerous, by the way. Let me rewind this just a little bit because I cut it off, but listen to what Andy says.
They bought the London Metals Exchange, and now they're going to be warehousing metals that are trading on the LME in China. Little by little by little by little, logarithmic decay, the infrastructure is being put into place. Yeah, we've raised the debt ceiling, I don't know, like 79 times and some crazy number like that. And you know, the way that we continue to do this, it is something that obviously isn't lost on the world. But look, when we talk about inflation moving forward, first of all, the Shanghai shipping costs just spiked 400% from 1,000 to 5,000 to bring goods from China to the United States. Now they have to go around the Cape of Good Hope. They're not going through the Suez Canal, and it's a situation where...
Remember, we've outsourced most all of our stuff, including pharmaceuticals, to China. If they increase their shipping by as much as he just mentioned, and if you're complaining about inflation, forget about the number that you know. It's going to increase by multiples of 5 if this is the case.
Witnessing the cost of shipping go way, way higher. Well, go back to 2020 during the pandemic. What was the cause of all the price inflation? It was shipping. It was logistics. It was the supply chain. Supply chain problems are just getting started again. And look, if the Fed cuts rates, it will be blatantly clear to me that the Federal Reserve is maybe the most political Federal Reserve ever. Because, look, a nation with $34 trillion in debt, almost $200 trillion in liabilities, $500 billion in trade deficits, and a trillion in interest payments, cutting rates when they're double their target, they're closer to 4% than they are to 2%. This is a problem, and inflation is not going away. In fact, I would argue that inflation will be a very big problem moving forward.
Not to mention we have $10 trillion in bonds coming due this year. Man, we are seriously in a bad situation. This is why I keep reminding people the dollar might lose its purchasing power, but gold never does. And I've given many examples about that. You can't rely on cryptocurrencies because there's a whole plot from BlackRock that I've explained many times for you guys to pay attention to. Just go watch my videos and you'll see why. Physical gold and silver that you keep yourself keeps you out of the system and protects you and your family, as well as your wealth.
I think come back to why you're seeing de-dollarization, why you're seeing all of these things happen around us. There are rallying cries everywhere. And, and just to show the idiocy of the market, the Treasury says, well, we're only going to borrow $760 billion instead of, 55 billion higher than they or lower than they had expected. And so the market.
And who do they borrow from? China.
Throws a party. I mean, think about how absurd that is. We're only borrowing 760. And, it's below what Wall Street thought. It's below what the street thought. And this is largely due supposedly to higher net fiscal flows. That's taxes, right? So they think that there'll be higher the taxes will make up for the loss of or the less amount that they need to borrow or bonds that they need to issue. And my guess is that just like they did with the labor numbers, remember 2023, all we heard about how good the employment numbers were. Well, quietly, hey, by the way, we were 440,000 jobs off, 40%. Sorry.
You hear what Andy's saying? They over-reported the jobs numbers by 40%. So when I tell you that they lie when it comes to the data, this is what I'm talking about.
And say, well, the employment numbers are so great and inflation is so great. We're being lied to everywhere. So the lying with the employment numbers, I mean, if you look at the number of CEOs that are selling everything. Look at the CFO of Discover Card just sold all his stock. Look at look at what's his name? Jeff Bezos just sold, I don't know, a lot of stock, $1 billion.
The reason why these CFOs or these presidents sell a lot of their stock, there's a lot of insider trading information going on. They know the doo-doo is about to hit the fan. So usually what they do to keep the public from, going into a panic is they'll make some excuse like, oh, Jeff Bezos is going through a divorce or Bill Gates is going through a divorce and they're forced to sell X amount of their stocks. Really, it's just a cover story. What they want to do is sell their stocks while they're high, make a ton of money, then they hold on to the cash, and once the market crashes, then they buy back the stock, pennies on a dollar.
What's his name? Zuckerberg from Facebook. He's selling a bunch. Why are they all selling? What do they know is coming? And so the numbers that we're being told, I believe, are make-believe. And they are, I think, putting us into a position where I believe they will come back and revise all of these numbers. They will revise and they'll end up borrowing more in the second quarter. And everything gets revised and everyone is acting upon the news of the day. That's why I think when things finally do snap, this is why I talk about logarithmic decay. All of these things that we talk about in and of themselves, they have significance and meaning, but put it together to a bigger whole, to the possibility of countries just seriously tired of the way that the United States conducts itself on the world stage and the way that we are mismanaging the reserve currency, the way that we are living beyond our means, and how hypocritical the world views us to be. And these are the rallying cries that are bringing all of these countries into the fold. And I just think this is kind of why I continue down this path. Other than really the gold and silver commitment of traders, that's something I really just glance at once in a while. I guess I would just simply say gold right now is at 226% in terms of percentage of ounces versus bars in circulation or backing the contracts. It's 226% of all vaulted gold, 499% of registered gold. In other words, 5 times as many contracts as there are bars in the vault backing those contracts. And when you talk about silver,
you already said the number of contracts out there for gold is way higher than the actual gold that's available.
It's up to 1,642% of all registered silver. Again,
silver, 1,642% paper silver versus physical. How they do this, I don't understand because it's illegal. But they have sold over 1,600% more silver than what's actually available.
Now it's 1,642. Basically, 1 out of every 17 contracts is backed. The rest is rehypothecated. So this entire system that is over-leveraged, whether you're talking the commodity exchanges, and do you think there's any reason why the Chinese bought the LME and are going to be listing things trading on the Shanghai Exchange and listing and holding actual metals, vaulting them for the LME, you can begin to see how methodical they really are.
Keep in mind, these are the same people that bought ETFs in cryptocurrencies. You see what they do to gold and silver, they're going to do the same thing to cryptocurrencies, but even worse.
They are all over the place. And yes, their economy is in trouble, but they have set up an infrastructure that I believe will be able to weather even the worst economic calamity because they are so resource rich and they have made deals around the world for the continuation of accumulation of resources, of precious metals, and they're breaking breaking away from the West. So everyone is in trouble right now financially. All of the countries are not in the best position. But in the end, as old Tam Pozar says, the ones who have all the commodities win.
Right now is the time to be into precious metals more than ever. If you're sitting there looking at the price going up and down, then you're into gold and silver for all the wrong reasons. This is to be outside of the system. This is to protect your wealth. So if you're thinking about buying gold and silver, make sure you go over to our friends at Miles Franklin. The link is down below in the description. Just tell them Pimpy sends you. Anyways, that's it for now. Looking forward to hearing what you have to say. I'll get back at you later. I am out.